What up, raft leaders? Welcome back to my channel. We are about half of a mile now into the Eccles to Ogle interchange bypass road. Right, half a mile west of where we are right now is the Eccles interchange, Eccles Peter Hall interchange, and we've walked all the way east to this point where there are piles of sand and stone that have been brought in, shipped in to this location for the purpose of road construction. So these are piles of stone. They're contractors who were paid millions of dollars to procure these stones. They're government contracts to procure these stones for road construction. And of course, with everything, as with everything being constructed in Guyana, there is scandal. There is scandal and corruption everywhere you look. But a road is being built, and today we want to talk about the road. We'll deal with the scandal and the corruption in another video. But here is what is being built. This is the East Coast Bypass Road. Now you've seen this road from the other end, that is from the East Coast Ogle end. I actually showed in the previous video not too long ago the East Coast junction with this road that's being widened. They're turning the airport road, Ogle Airport Road, into a 4-lane highway that now connects with this road, this new 4-lane road that's being built. It's a bypass because it allows people coming from the East Coast and from Berbice to head straight up the East Bank to Linden and Timehri, places south, as far as Latham, without going through Georgetown. So it bypasses Georgetown, which is a good thing because it cuts out distance and time from the journey, and it also reduces the traffic congestion in the streets of the city of Georgetown. It's one of the solutions. It is not the only solution that needs to be built to address the traffic problem in Guyana. Ultimately, we need trains, both freight trains that take a lot of the heavy commodities off the road, things like sugar and rice that are still transported, and sand, construction materials that are still transported by road. Basically the sand trucks. You can see the axle shaking on this one because the road is so rough, like a washboard in this part. But yes, so the solution involves not only building wider roads but also building railway lines, train lines, and freight trains to take a lot of the heavy cargo, like commodities, sugar and rice, are still transported on the roads. At one point, bauxite used to be transported on the river because Linden is in fact located on the Demerara River, along the Demerara River, about 90 miles inland. But to make the roads safer involves not only building wider roads and more roads like this bypass, but also building train links, light rail for passengers to deal with traffic congestion, and high-speed rail connecting the cities in Guyana with the cities in neighboring countries like Brazil, Suriname, perhaps even Venezuela once we settle our conflict with them. But this is where we are right now. We're just 4 years into the oil and gas industry. People are still arguing with me on this channel about the way and what the reason why I'm bringing you this coverage, and it's because I have a specific goal on this channel to simply uh, record for history the changes that are happening in Guyana as a result of the oil and gas industry. All of this is possible only since 2020, when Guyana started exporting oil and gas. So it has nothing to do with politics. It will be the same regardless of which political party is in power. Now that money is available to develop this country, development will progress, will proceed, right? It doesn't matter which political party is in power. If there is no money to develop, then there will be no development. So this is about how the oil and gas industry is changing Guyana. The only way that politics works is, or influences this, is the direction in which the country goes. Now, one set of politicians wanted to turn Georgetown into a clean capital city. Another set of politicians want to abandon it and build a city elsewhere. So these are the choices that Guyana faces. That is how politics affects it. But as far as the development, as far as building these roads and building trains, that is entirely dependent on the availability of capital. One set of politicians wanted to build a train line from Georgetown to Tamari Airport, and this set of politicians decided to cancel those plans and to build highways instead, these 4-lane highways. So what I'm showing you is simply the development, the changes that oil and gas is bringing to Guyana, and the direction in which those changes are going, so that when eventually and inevitably the political leadership changes in this country, you will be able to compare what's happening, you know, in the era of oil and gas under the various kinds of leadership. And the problem is that I have people who can only think in terms of politics flooding the comment section with complete nonsense, and I have to keep repeating, this is not about politics, this is about the influence, the impact of the oil and gas industry on Guyana. All right, I have another group, the religious people, who see everything in religious terms, who want to know, whether we're grateful for this progress that is happening. That's an entirely different issue, and if you're a Muslim or you're Hindu, you're a Christian, you will have your own interpretation of reality based on your religion. This is not the domain or the forum in which I want to discuss religious or spiritual practice. This is just a straight analysis of the development that is happening in Guyana based on the oil and gas industry, and that's why every quarter when they release the quarterly reports, Bank of Guyana releases a quarterly report every 3 months on the state of the what I call the Sovereign Wealth Fund, what is in fact a natural resource fund. It is a bank account at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, where all of the proceeds from the sale and royalty from the oil and gas industry gets deposited. So Guyana gets 14.25% of the revenue from the oil and gas industry, and that goes into a bank account at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And what the Bank of Guyana report reveals every quarter is how much of that money gets withdrawn by the government of Guyana to spend on things like these road construction and other national development projects, and how much of it remains. Right now, my estimate is that there are about $3 billion remaining in the Natural Resources Fund in the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and the government has spent about $1 billion this year alone from that fund. According to ExxonMobil, their numbers show that $5.4 billion have already been deposited into that fund. So that means a total of $2.4 billion have already been spent. And what we're asking in these videos is basically, what are we getting for the money we're spending? Are we getting quality? Are we getting value for the money we're spending? Because this is US dollars, this is not Guyana dollars, right? And which is why you normally compare it to, right? Which is why I compare these construction projects to what's happening in other countries. In the United States of America, in China, in Singapore, Dubai, because it's that kind of money that's being spent. It's really billions of dollars, which means that we will spend a trillion at the rate we're spending US dollars right now. We will spend $1 trillion in the first 10 years, or within the next 3 years. Next, what is it? Year 4. The next 6 years, from the time we started producing oil and gas, 10 years onward, we would have spent about $1 trillion on development projects in Guyana. And the question we're asking very pointedly right now is, are we getting quality for what we're spending? Now this is the center divide that's being built. As I'm sure you, I guess this will become where I'm walking, that is, right? This will become the divider center. Divider, and those will become the lanes. You can see trucks are now using a side road, and we're heading east, right? The sun is straight up ahead of us. That's the sun. It's still about 6:30, almost 7 o'clock in the morning, and so the sun is coming up from the east. We're looking directly at the sun right now. This is the road, and so to the left of us, that's the north, right? That's the north. It'll be towards the Seawall East Coast Road, and we're heading east, which means this road is going to turn north by the time we get to